Hello everyone, welcome to the SBIA workshop. My name is Jose Cabrera. I'm a technical information specialist in the Division of Labeling, Registration, and Unapproved Drugs, Office of Unapproved Drugs and Labeling Compliance. Today, I am giving you a presentation on establishment registration highlights. Please keep in mind that at the end of this presentation, there will be several challenge questions for you to answer. Feel free to take notes throughout the presentation to help you with your memory. Let's look at our learning objectives for this presentation. First, identify establishment business operations. Next, provide requirements for the U.S. agents. Next, we want to describe the role of importers. And finally, understand mergers and acquisitions. Let's take a look at establishment business operations. First, business operations describe the manufacturing activities performed within the establishment, whereas if you are a packer, repacker, labeler, relabeler, those are all different activities if they are performed in your facility that need to be annotated in the establishment SPL. Of course, facilities that are performing multiple operations should be listing all of their operations in that SPL. Why is this so important? We use this information to access statutory fees for inspection planning and drug volume reporting. Here is a list of current business operations that you would use for your establishment registration SPL. As you can see down at the bottom, we have pack, we have relabel, repack. We also have third-party logistics provider, United States agent, wholesale drug distributor. These are some of the more common business operations that we do see. We also have analysis, API manufacturer, import, label, and manufacturer. Please take some time to familiarize yourself with this list, and also we'll have a link provided at the end of the presentation where you can find a list of these business operations for yourself. Business operations on the SPL page include business operations for all submissions, 503B, DSCSA, which is the Drug Supply Chain Security Act. An SIP foreign seller can only be located in Canada. Here are the requirements for a U.S. agent. Now, this is also outlined in 21 CFR 207, which I have in the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and read this slide so that way we can have a firm understanding as we get into the other requirements for a U.S. agent in the next slides. Any foreign establishment engaged in the manufacture, preparation, propagation, compounding, or processing of a drug imported into the United States must identify a United States agent for that establishment. The United States agent is responsible for responding to the FDA questions concerning drugs that are offered for import, reviewing, disseminating, routing, and responding to all communications from FDA. In other words, when FDA has a question on a drug that's offered for import, we reach out to the U.S. agent for clarification or for more information. FDA is providing data to the U.S. agent equivalent to providing data to the foreign establishment. If we are communicating with the U.S. agent, we are communicating with the foreign establishment. One thing to note of great importance, and we have had issues with this in the past, the United States agent must reside or maintain a place of business in the United States, and it may not be a mailbox, it may not be an answering machine or service, or other place where a person acting as the United States agent is not physically present. So what happens if you have an unauthorized U.S. agent that is listed in an establishment SPL? Well, it does happen, unfortunately. So unauthorized inclusion of a U.S. agent in a foreign establishment registration may cause the FDA's inactivation of the registration record. To combat this, we ask U.S. agents to check Deckers periodically to look for unauthorized use. Let's talk about drug importers. Imported drugs must meet FDA standards for quality, safety, and effectiveness. FDA will verify compliance with the following requirements as applicable: registration and listing, drug application, drug labeling, and drug current good manufacturing practices. More information on drug importers will be available in links at the end of this presentation. For drug importers, for the purposes of this part, a person in the United States that is an owner, consignee, or recipient at the time of entry of a foreign establishment's drug or an animal feed bearing or containing a new animal drug that is imported into the United States. That is per 21 CFR 207.1. Again, we'll have more information on the CFRs and links to that at the end of this presentation. FDA verifies that the declared manufacturer is registered and the product is listed. FDA verifies the foreign manufacturer has identified the declared importer in their registration. If the information does not match, the FDA may need to gather additional information, detain the product, or refuse entry of that product. Now let's talk about mergers and acquisitions. Companies can merge, establishments can be acquired. In the terms of an establishment registration, any establishment moving from one registrant to another should be removed from the initial SPL and moved to acquiring company's registration SPL. DUNS and FEI may remain the same or change. The decision will be made by Dun & Bradstreet and FDA's ORA, Office of Regulatory Affairs. They will also report the transfer to D&B and find out if the DUNS will remain the same prior to the submission. They will also leave the FEI field for the transferring establishment blank once the updated registration SPL is submitted, and ORA will make that determination if the same FEI should be used. Okay, so now we're going to go and cover our challenge questions. So we have about 3 questions that we're going to cover, all multiple choice. So hopefully you took notes and you remembered some of the things that we talked about in this presentation, which will be able to help you answer these questions effectively. The first question: the business operation must reflect the functions the facility performs for A, inspection planning, B, assess statutory fees, C, drug volume reporting, D, all of the above. So question number 1. The business operation must reflect the functions the facility performs for D, all of the above. If you guessed D, you are correct. The business operation must reflect the functions the facility performs for inspection planning, assessing statutory fees, and drug volume reporting. So answer D is correct, all of the above. Congratulations. Let's move on to challenge question number 2. If my establishment only repacks and relabels one product, do I need to list both operations? A, no. Only use the business operation that sells the most product. B, list the business operation with the lowest fee. C, list all business operations the facility performs. D, email eDRLS and explain what you manufacture. D is my favorite, but let's see what everybody else is going to answer. So, challenge question number 2. Let's see what the majority of us got. If my establishment only repacks and relabels one product, do I need to list both operations? C, list all business operations the facility performs. I want to emphasize that you don't need to email eDRLS and explain what you manufacture. Listing all business operations in the establishment SPL is what we want. Congratulations to everybody who got this one right. So here's challenge question number 3, and this is our final challenge question. Where can I read the requirements to become a U.S. agent? Is it A, 21 CFR 207-69B, B, 21 CFR 207.96B, C, 21 CFR 209.67C, D, CFRs are only suggestions. I will give you a hint, it is not D, so this should make this question a little bit easier. And the answer for challenge question number 3, where can I read the requirements to become a U.S. agent? A, 21 CFR 207.69B. Again, CFRs are only suggestions was not a viable answer, nor should it ever be a viable answer. So to summarize this presentation, we covered a tremendous amount of information. We talked about the use of correct business operations to identify establishments, foreign establishments that require U.S. agents, verifying compliance with FDA before importing drugs into the U.S. market. Here is the link of all the different resources that we covered here today. I'll make sure to make this available to everyone here in attendance, and that way you have a reference guide where you can go back to these links and look at the information provided. Again, my name is Jose Cabrera, Technical Information Specialist with the Division of Labeling, Registration, and Unapproved Drugs in the Office of Unapproved Drugs and Labeling Compliance. Thank you again.